Hey family, just wanted to hop on real quick here before you hear this next upcoming episode talking about Cinco De Mayo, giving a shout out to our Mexican brothers and sisters, right? Those of the Latin community, as it said, which we understand certain names are given to them from Europe, right? That's why we say Latin. It's why we say Hispanic, because it's dealing with Spain and Rome and all that kind of thing, right? When various people groups down here had a succinct and different language and culture and all that kind of thing, customs, right? That when the European came over here, they used very many things. Again, these are things, we're just talking normally here, but these are things that people have a hard time grasping because they believe it to be untrue, because they believe what Massa is telling them, instead of you going back and looking into history. Again, not the history they give you, but the one they hid from you. And then the more you keep looking and studying, you find these things, right? Again, for our Mexican brothers and sisters, this day is for you, fighting and winning against European occupation and invasion, right? Specifically the French. Two things. One, when we talk about the Gulf of Mexico in this episode, we misspelled it. We said N-A-H-L, it was N-A-H-A, and I believe the little apostrophe is over the A when it is said. From our native brothers and sisters that call that body of water the Gulf of Mexico, which Donald Trump wants to call the Gulf of America. You know, just playing around. Again, you're playing around with the thing because the Gulf, and then this man is doing some nuclear stuff to society, but that's besides the point, right? Just specifically talking about the Gulf of Mexico, where there's some stuff here I'm seeing, family, where almost as if people who do not like, we're taking away, again, if you don't feel the thing is right, family, you ought to be able to stand up and say it. The other side that thinks a different way will stand up and say something without repercussion. That's the way it should be for all sides. But when you have occupation at work, that's when that's taken away from you. We're just saying what it is, family, right? So when you speak on things, this is a side note, when you speak on things against Israel that aren't right, that's not the time to double down. The Bible never did it. God never did it. Jesus never did it. The Holy Spirit never did it. See, now we're talking about things that are, and this is where the Christian, right about now, we're talking about normally what happens in history. Just a side note here, not to take up too much of y'all's time. This is right about the time where the Christian gets really quiet. Me as a Christian, I'm not doing that, right? We're not doing that, family. At the very least, we could speak up for our brothers and sisters down here on this planet and let God divide out the rest of it. But too long through human history, we sit back. Again, the Bible is part of human history. Too long, we sit back and play a game like we don't know nothing. But we do out here, family. Hear us on a different view. We know different, right? This is about peace between all people groups, which is exactly what Cinco de Mayo is about, because Europe, aka the French, did not want to be at peace with our Mexican brothers and sisters. And they chose to defend themselves as they should. We are not saying that the thing should always be violent. Again, if you want to talk about the victim, talk to the bully who wanted to abuse the victim. And that's where you get a lot of hokey pokey. You get that holiness movement hokey pokey going on. Like we can't say where wrong is. Then we kind of douse over it with the love of God and all that kind of mess. So that was number one. We just wanted to talk about the Gulf of Mexico. Number two was the Prime Meridian. Okay. While in 1891 they did speak over some things. And again, it's just your boy fact checking himself, right? Again, we don't want to put out information here where we're wrong and mislead people. So we again, you look to yourself to make sure you're saying the best thing possible. Nobody's going to be 100, but it's where you're humble enough to put out the right information to people. So number two. 1891, of course, there was some discussion as far as some more discussion about where they wanted to put Western and Eastern Hemisphere, aka the Prime Meridian, right? They referenced Washington, D.C. in this, but again, we know on this podcast, right, it's Europe 2.0 at work. When a lot of these discussions happen, Europe had something to do with it, like it does mostly when you look back in that time period, okay? Literally from about the 1400s all the way through, okay? So, 1884, it's just a few years back, where from record that we see where the prime meridian was established as it is currently. But when you go back in time, family, and you look at old maps of the world, there's a clear distinction. That conversation had come up talking about East and West and speaking on who invaded who. The East invaded the West, family. You're just going to have to come to that conclusion. Okay? While you had warring tribes and folks fighting over here, again, we use the analogy, just because John is beating on Susan, right? Steve is beating up Sandra, right? We don't laugh at the physical violent part of it. We laugh at the we laugh at the odd thinking in the mind, right? Because Jermaine, right? Shout out to the Jackson 5 one time, so we'll use this name just it's all over the world, family. We understand certain people groups take the head of the class, but this mess is all over the world. Because Jermaine is beating on Chantrell does not mean I'm gonna join in, and neither should you, right, family? Or should we, right? So when people start using that excuse in history, well, you know, these black folks were selling themselves into slavery, KJ, and you know this doesn't. When you hear all that mess, again, as we say sometimes on this podcast, BS. When you hear that kind of trash coming from people's minds, you already know that they sipped enough syrup down that they can then re-spit that trash out the mouth. Again, because you see a parent, and I mean, when we talk about whooping, we ain't talking that spanking to the butt, okay? For some people, we understand. Certain parents, listen, let the defenses down. There's certain parents, we understand they beat their babies too much. Cat Williams has joked about it, okay? Some people do beat their babies too much, but just because that happens does not mean you join in whooping a baby, okay? We're just saying what it is, right? So those are two things we just wanted to get out of the way. We hope y'all enjoy this upcoming episode, and we will talk to you soon. All right, family. All right. What's going on this morning, family, right? Cinco de Mayo. May the 5th, 1862. Shout out to our Mexican brothers and sisters one time, right? The Mayan, the Incan, the Aztec, right? Family, the love of God, man. Let's do this. Let's start off this way, right? Because your boy get hype about this subject. Welcoming us who are we're not going to take your time this morning because, again, things have already been written in stone. I hope that in celebration of fighting resistance against the enemy, okay, there's certain things you got to square away with in your heart and your mind. Especially for us who are Christian, who are Jewish, who are Muslim, who believe anything and everything. This Wiccan, Buddhist, Hindu, spiritualist, Satanist. It doesn't matter. There's certain things you're going to have to square away with in your heart and mind when you're talking about humanity. Right? Welcome in us who are the almost 1,200 plus strong, who believe in, who love, who have fun with, who enjoy, who seek for, hunger and thirst for that which is a different view. Family, welcome in, right? Thank you for your support. Before we get started here, we want to, again, continue to remind people where you can find the podcast. It's at A Different View 80 if you listen on YouTube. Again, the @ symbol, A Different View 80. The number 80, not the word. That's on YouTube. When you look on Spotify and Apple, we're on A Different View. That's the name of it. The artist's name is KJ. For those who are looking. Your boy got coffee with him today, right? Got him that good caramel macchiato. Not too. I don't know how Mexican this drink might be. But we'll save the Mexican drinking for later. For those who have a problem with drinking, I don't know what to tell you. Okay? There is, as we have continuously re-referenced on this podcast, do not be excessively drunk. Right? Let me just sip this coffee here 1 second. There's a difference between it being excessively drunk and having a drink or 2 or 3. Let's say this because this is a day some people will probably call out of work tomorrow. Don't be drinking and driving, family. Right? There's no reason for you to or for someone else to have to die or be maimed or injured because we do not use decency and order in the things we enjoy in this life. We just say it. Nobody has to get beat up this evening. Okay? We're celebrating freedom today. Freedom. So you don't have to beat up that jackass who's going to make fun of this. To our Latin brothers and sisters we talking this morning. Same thing goes for anybody that has melanin in their skin. We talking the dark, so dark that they call them black. That the invader called them black, right? Again, this invader that we're talking, we don't use Inquisition, we don't say colonization here. We do not give pass to evil and sin. That was invasion. And we are living, family, in the aftermath of invasion. You raise a flag. You pledge allegiance that used to look like a German salute, a German duck walking salute, by the way. That's the Bellamy salute. Well, we can play that game today. We can do DID and all that kind of thing. We talking about you to your captor, family. Not your liberator, your captor. Now, we can and do show respect, as you would across the planet to anybody. Although you should be always aware of people, and especially on a day where melanated peoples are going to be celebrating their freedom, be very careful. Now, to our Latin brothers and sisters, they have bought into and believe in a thing where you stay together. You band together. Whether the family is married to a gringo, as they say, right? Whether they're married to someone Asian, Indian, the Negro, right? They have bought into, and thank God they do, because family, if you don't, there is no, who is protecting you? We keep doing this spiritual thing like angels coming out the sky and stuff like that, and while they have been set guard over you, as we say from the Bible, right? That we don't get hurt. And we believe in that. Family, you on your own 2 feet. Again, like we talk on this podcast, we put too much things in the devil or God or Saint Mary, since Catholicism has spread wide through the Latin community. I wonder how that got there. When the Aztec and the Mayan and Incan were living under their own belief, how all of a sudden did you become Catholic? Where is the other combination of that? That holds to things that doesn't have to, since everybody keeps going back to this child sacrifice and human sacrifice. Everybody does this, but what else did they believe in? They believed in the sun, right? Sun gods, right? We gonna act like that's not a thing. Again, have no other gods before me. So you're telling me they can't have respect for the sun, knowing that there's a maker that made it? Nothing? It's cool. We can keep playing the game that we keep playing, family. There's certain results there. Right? French occupation back in the 1860s. To let you know that Europe was invading the Americas. They came from the East, family. Let's stop doing this thing where, because Europe said the prime meridian is where it is. that you're going, the West was invading the West. No. Just because parts of Western Europe where England might lie would be considered West as the hemisphere. No, that's the east side of the world invading the West. You look it up. We're not making up anything. You look at old maps of the planet and compare it to what England said in the 1800s, 1860s. If I'm not mistaken, I believe the prime meridian was either 1861 or it might have been like 1891, I think, from what I saw. Right? And we can leave comments in the chat and be respectful. Okay. Again, the other side, you got to understand a good mental game Massa has done to make sure you stay very loyal. You stay right there sucking on the teat of Massa. That's a real thing. To each their own. Some of us here on the plantation don't want to stay. Again, since everybody joins protests and does these things and, excuse me, tells you who to go back to where. How about you give some money in restitution back to the Mexican of whose borders you took from them? We're going to act like California, Washington, Oregon, Colorado, Arizona, New Mexico. You named it New Mexico. Texas, or at least part of Texas, belong to the Mexican. But yet you want to dump them. You send in, you name it ice, you can name it steam, you can name it, I don't care, river, I don't care what name you put to it. While you push them back over there, won't you give them some restitution to the land that you took from them in the 1800s? Nothing about that, though. You're not going to get nothing about that because Massa don't give you nothing. And people, especially to our black brothers and sisters, right? The dark skin tone, melanated brothers and sisters. You love Massa because they give you nothing. That is exactly what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told people. We're just talking about, everybody quotes like church fathers. Can we quote other people, though? Because they're saying similar things. In the Bible, when it tells you get drawn away by it when you're tempted, you get drawn away by your own strong desires and you're enticed by them. See, there's a difference between what you strongly desire and then getting drawn away and enticed by them. Since May the 4th was yesterday, it's like falling toward the dark side because it's out of balance at that point. You don't have to believe in balance or nothing like that. We're just saying what it is, right? Cinco de Mayo, family. While we speak on Mexican things, this mess with the Gulf of Mexico. When you go back in time, our native brothers and sisters naming it very different things. I think NaHL was one word that they had for that just great body of water, right? Different people and groups and tribes that lived here. Again, you got Alabama, I believe, shares part of the shore. Of course, Texas does. The Gulf of Mexico, family. One, when you got a president that's okay with takeover, and you had a lot of presidents that's okay with takeover, that's why this land is the way it is. That's why it's called the United States and not just America. Again, we can accept things for whatever you think it is. We just, opinion of the content creator, right? We'll put it under that. Because we know the defenses in the mind are strong, man. Most of it is wrapped around money. They got us on that little hamster wheel for money. And they were able to hurt our Mexican brothers and sisters as a result. To tell and show you, if you think this thing is just for black folks, it's not, man. It's not. We are shared in a collective collage of pain. Yeah, let's say it that way, right? You know that paper mache and stuff, and you put it in a collage and you put the different things. Yeah, all over the planet, man. All over the planet. Those in the nation of India. Those over in Asia. Those over in Australia. Islands both west and east of the Americas. Whether you're talking over Polynesia, Philippines, the Philippines, Hawaii, doesn't matter. They took that show on the road. Collecting whoever would come to their cause. This is why when we talk about love, man, I had the chance to talk to a brother yesterday. More and more and more, I want to get around, right? People groups, folks that love each other, family. One of our Hopi brothers and sisters, Shout out to the Hopi tribe one time, right? It's about love and laughter and family. This mess that Massa brought here is trash. When you go back into the 1200s and look at the mess, right, that England did to Ireland family. Come on, somebody. Our Scottish brothers and sisters, people not worried about or concerned about, I should say, what they should be. It's time people stand up and say a thing. We can't keep this going and accelerate finance and progress and real wealth trying to undercut each other. Damn it, that's not going to work that way, family. But you can keep going on with it. We can keep going on with it. The Maker gave us families, by which as we band together with different families, we create wealth. That is the power to gain wealth, family. When you undercut each other, it's the opposite. Just saying what it is. When you don't watch who's at your door, and the wolf come in because you are not watching and watching over people. This is not to take away expression. This is not to take away control over an individual's life. We're talking about everybody ain't there, don't give a damn about you. Clearly, by French occupation, or they at least tried. On May the 5th, 1862. They tried. Oh, man, but it did not work. It did not work, right? At least there is a shred of decency left in the governments of this nation that has been created in the land of America, that they recognize Cinco de Mayo. Since they've taken away the Gulf of Mexico and everything else, at least they recognize these days. This is why we go over them, family, because they're important. They're important to know the man can't come after you and win every time. This is not promoting violence for those who start getting on that. We're talking about when, again, if you're going to do this, the victim need to fall in line. Somebody talk to me about what that bully need to do. And that's normally where you get a lot of good hop, skipping, and jumping. Same thing over in the church. That's why shout out Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., right? Shout out Bishop Luke Edwards. It was awesome for me to find out about that. And I know our Christian brothers and sisters are going to have a lot to say. While we talk a lot about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad over in our Muslim camp, in the Christian camp, in the Pentecostal church, you had Bishop Luke Edwards. You can look him up. We attribute the Watchtower solely to the Mormon community, right? Our Mormon brothers and sisters. This is what they believe. This is another belief, right? Again, we ain't over here about who right and wrong. We believe in on what we believe, and everybody else, it gets sifted out on the back end by the Maker, not me. Right? There's a level of presumption when you do that. We can talk to you about coming to Jesus and accepting and all that kind of thing. That's all well and good. I'm not going to sit here and waste time talking about who wrong. That's nope. Bishop Luke Edwards' deal was called the Watchtower back in the day. But is similar to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. With our Muslim brothers and sisters, there was farming, manufacturing, building, schools. There was things made and built. Now, was there scandal? Yes. Do we condone that? No. Not free child labor, different things that I've read and stuff like we ain't on that, okay? We're talking about and that's where normally people go when they get distracted on things. Just like we talked about since we're talking Cinco De Mayo. We've talked about this with Captain America and Brave New World. We talked about this with the Thunderbolts that is there. Coming together, family. Somewhere along the line, to our Latin and Black brothers and sisters, we forgot that we work together. Just saying what it is. We work together. We have worked together. Lived together. Laughed and loved together. There is no division but that which was put there, whether by us or someone else. For us to advance, you got to let that go. We work together. Matter of fact, they traded out one group of people for another one. That's why they used the Mexican everywhere. And then you got this Florida fool a couple of years ago want to sit there and kick out all the illegals like somebody else who's here because they made up a law. There was no law back in the 1600s to show the sickness that's in people's minds of what was legal to be here. You came here illegally. See, we talked about this with Haley Steinfeld, family. You have to grasp certain things. Don't talk about you in the building you stole. Talking about now we here legally. What? That is before God as a sin, family. See, but the Christian don't talk like this from the pulpit. Because they got to make sure they have a good senator and they got to make sure money is being given to them. But when you talk for real, no. No, it's wrong. Right? It was wrong. And the system that we set up around it all is wrong. And to make amends for it, we really got to make amends for it. Right? Where we share in peace, just as should have been done back then. Right? No battles for occupation. Peace. But when the adversary, when the great deceiver is at work, and again, we're not talking about that which is under the earth. We're not talking about the devil in that aspect. We're talking about people operating in a mindset that is clearly adversarial and very divisive. This is the kind of mess you see. So when you have a taco today, when you have a cerveza, right? When you have a margarita, when you have a good shot of tequila, right? Again, another alcohol produced here in the Americas. That's a separate topic for a different day. Since especially our black brothers and sisters like getting involved in owning alcohol businesses. Again, separate topic for a different day. Cultural appropriation put an end to it, family, by giving credit to those who gave their life of freedom. Yeah, I know it's a good time to dance the merengue and the salsa and the bachata. I get it. To stare at some Spanish mommies, we understand, right? We again, that word, right? Spanish, look at that. Not just Spanish, right? Our Latinas, we understand, okay? Not only do we understand, they understand, all right? We get it, okay? But remember the power of Cinco De Mayo. It's about freedom. We can't say this enough. You know, I was almost not going to do an episode today just to not be so like every year doing the same on the same day over and over and over again. But again, you cannot say this enough. Because what's in the mind and hearts of people is literally the opposite. What is in the mind and hearts of men and women, you clearly see. But the backbone of the workforce is the same one that is the slave class that's been created on these lands, which is the dark and brown skinned folks, which would include the Negro and the Latino and the Latina, the ones cleaning the bathroom that they call wetbacks, and all other sick names. I can talk about mixed kids as mulattoes. They're not mules, family. They're people. Again, it is renewing the mind, washing it with the water of God's words. And in this case, when we're talking God's words, the Maker's words, the grand designer and fashioner, it's where you love people. Now, where you don't see that color, you see that color. And you see it in bright HD TV, too. But you give respect. We don't switch out words for more in Indian. We talked about that before with Montezuma. We give respect to exactly who they are, where they come from, where their pain is, just like it is all over the world. For those who are in relationships with people who are Latin, understand their pain. Understand they struggle. We all go through separate struggles, similar, not exact, but similar to what people go through, to what they've gone through, to what you couldn't imagine that they do go through on a daily basis, whether it be microaggressions on the job, all type of mess, and they got to keep their composure because massa making them try to jump. Family, I don't know if you know this, massa making you try to jump and react at work. It's time to switch up the strategy. You walk in love. This is where what Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. had to say is correct. Brother Malcolm X is not wrong. He's not wrong. But there is a way that you act tactfully around your enemy. And anybody who operates in that level of energy, you can get on our Wiccan brothers and sisters all day long. You talk about operating in witchcraft, that's the darkest magic possible. When you try to make another person jump because of the sick, microaggressive, overtly aggressive, all types of sick mess, they say. And I could say it other ways, but I won't. Right? This is not how it goes, family. And this is the part of the conversation you got to have, especially when you talk about cultural appropriation, Cinco de Mayo, anything like that. We're going to come up with it next year, not next year, next month with Juneteenth. It's time for peace to reign, family. Violence has reigned long enough. Division has reigned long enough. And it's time for men and women to band together, speak the words of life and truth and love. And as always, we let the great maker sort the rest of it out. No more excuses. No more excuses. Right? So, shout out one time to our Latin brothers and sisters again, our Mexican brothers and sisters, right? Celebrating a day of freedom, whether they do, whether they don't. Today is that day to honor that which is freedom from oppression, right? That's what I got for y'all today, family. Again, enjoy Cinco de Mayo. Try to make sure y'all don't get too drunk. Okay? That tequila is some strong drink, family. Don't get too drunk, man, right? And we will talk to y'all next time. Thank you, family. Thank you, family, for walking this road with me today, right? Some of it is a hard conversation to have. Some of it really isn't that much of a hard conversation to have. Again, it's about love and respect. Right? Thank you for walking this road with me, family. And as always, and until next time, look to find the beauty in a different view.